My name is Dyana Hesson. I am a botanical artist. I live and work in the sunny, beautiful state of Arizona. I've been a professional artist for 30 years now, and I'm a master signature member of American Women Artists. Today, creatives, we're going to talk about some different ways that I've learned to be successful in my career. There are 10 things we're going to talk about today, and if maybe just one or two of those things resonate with you and give you that aha moment and light up your brain, well then today's talk will be successful and that will make me super happy. So because we're all visual, because we're creatives and we don't like to sit down and read books all the way through, today's talk is got a visual basis, and that is this painting. I created this painting a few years ago to be a focal point for my retrospective at the Desert Botanical Garden. I was walking in my neighborhood one morning and it was springtime and the saguaros were blooming. That happens late in the spring here. It's the last cactus flower usually to bloom in the desert, so it's like the fireworks show at the end of the night. Anyway, the saguaro blooms were blooming and there were hundreds and hundreds of bees atop the plants, just going about their business, being ultimately just driven and compelled and focused on their work, not a care in the world, just doing their work. And I thought that would be just a great basis for our talk today. And so our talk today is going to be called The 10 B's of Success. And you'll see what I mean here in a minute. And when I originally gave this talk at our symposium in Tucson several years ago, there were only 9 B's. Today you get a gift with purchase. You get a 10th B because we've all been through a pandemic. And this artist learned a very valuable B that served me well that I want to share with you towards the end of our talk here today. So let's get started. So our first B we're going to talk about is be yourself. Who are you? Really, who are you? So when I was a little kid, this little kid, I was not interested in reading books or sitting still in class or getting great grades. I wanted to chat with my friends and play outside and skin my knees and look at plants and look at bugs. And that was who I was. And as I grew up and really wanted to go to college, and I went off to college, but I was still a floundering student, I tried this major and that major and none of them stuck until my husband said to me, "Why don't you study art?" And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. That's who I was all this time. When I was creating newsletters for my neighborhood kids, putting on skating shows, making my own books out of construction paper and crayons, I was a creative kid. And so you can't push that down. If that's who you are, you can be a successful person being the very person that you are and not somebody else. So a little story I like to tell as an example of that is every once in a while a friend will come to me and say, "You know what, my kid is super creative. She wants to be an artist. Can she come to your studio?" Yes, absolutely. I love having young people in my studio. So several years ago, this young girl came over. She had her portfolio of drawings and paintings and so forth, and we went through them, and she just was not enthusiastic about the visit. We talked about art and art school and painting mediums, and she just did not have that enthusiasm. Well, I noticed that most of her drawings were of animals. And so I asked her about that. I said, "Why is it that you draw animals?" "I love animals," she said. "I maybe like to be a veterinarian someday." Aha! Who she really was someone very compassionate and loving and excited about animals. The art was just a means to express that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the heart of who she was someone who was destined to be a veterinarian or work in conservation or something like that, not necessarily an artist. So I love to ask people, and I'll ask you right now, if you could do anything in the whole world, don't even think about it too hard, just blurt it out. What would you do? If it's an artist, then be an artist. If you love painting flowers, or if you love cars, or if you love architecture, well then that's the heart of who you are and what you love and what you can share with the world. So be who you are. Which brings me to the next B. Be encouraging. By helping others refine and define their direction, you will do the same for yourself. By saying out loud to someone, you really should follow this path. This is what you're good at. It will help you reflect on your own path and your own strengths and help you in your path as well. So always be encouraging. And to be encouraging, you have to get together with other creatives. When you get together with other creatives, good things happen. I first read about the Algonquin Roundtable in Harpo Marx's book, Harpo Speaks. The group was compiled of New York City writers, critics, actors, and performers who met each day for lunch at the Algonquin Hotel from 1919 to 1928. They dreamed and collaborated. Well, I love this idea of creatives meeting together and collaborating and talking and discussing things and laughing and maybe sharing their sorrows and sharing their frustrations. So a few years ago, some local Phoenix artists and myself started a group we like to call the Pop-Tarts. It's just a creative way of saying we pop up and we're in the arts. But anyway, we meet at a local watering hole about once a month. If we have ideas we're working on, we bring them, we discuss them, we bring our notebooks, we bring our successes, and we bring our frustrations, and we talk about them. And within that group, some amazing things have happened. Some amazing goals have been accomplished. Some dreams have been dreamed, and some collaborations have happened between members, which are amazing. It's super valuable if you are wanting to be a creative, successful person to collaborate, be with others, and be encouraging. So being compelling starts with some self-reflection. If you study successful people, and you should, you'll find out that they were following the first B from an early age. They were being themselves, staying true to themselves. And they didn't bend their aesthetic or their ideas or their goals to the world. The world came to them, believed in them. So you think about the greats in retail. Think about Estee Lauder, Polo, Martha Stewart. These guys knew who they were, and they stayed true to it. So like Ralph Lauren, he didn't narrow his men's silk ties like department store buyers wanted him to. He stuck with his aesthetic. He kept him fat, and he marketed him, and he became a huge success. And Lauder built her empire based on the belief that beauty was important, and she knew if women just tried her products that they would believe it too. Ever hear of gift with purchase? I bet you have. Well, she created that. Martha Stewart made us believe that perhaps we could create a 7-layer cake. But if you can't create your own 7-layer cake, you can buy her cake stand, put your store-bought cake on it, and feel a piece of that aesthetic yourself. So being compelling means to have a powerful, irresistible effect. Why do I paint what I paint? Why do I love the botanical subjects in the desert? Because I love it. I consume it daily. I drink it, breathe it, walk on it daily. I want you to feel the way I felt when I saw this scene on an early April morning in Arizona in the springtime. And if you feel that when you look at this, then you bought into what I do. And maybe I've compelled you to visit Arizona, to look at a botanical garden, and ultimately, maybe you're going to be a new collector as well. Confidence in a vision is compelling. Create your brand and let the world come to you. Don't create your brand for the world. Our next B is a lot of fun. Be generous. I'm often asked to donate to local charities, national charities, and when I'm able to, I always say yes. The paintings that you have stored away that aren't doing you any good, that haven't sold, or the prints that you have, or the extra items that you produce in your studio are excellent ways to create connections with a community that really needs your help. And those connections can turn into other opportunities down the road. Our next B is be an ambassador. It's not good enough to be super talented and sit in your studio day after day and not get out into the world, talk about what you do, and share your art with others. The old adage is true. People buy from people. You are the best person to represent yourself. You may have a great gallery and a great website and all of that, but people are enamored with what you do. There are people that would love to be artists. They're fascinated by what you do, and so you need to be an ambassador. One thing I've learned over the last few years is that you cannot prejudge who you think might be interested in your art. Everyone is a potential collector. For example, in her autobiography, Estee, A Success Story, Estee Lauder shares a story about a personal appearance she made at an Estee Lauder counter at Frost Brothers department store in San Antonio, Texas. A Mexican woman wearing no shoes and 2 gold teeth approached the counter and gazed wistfully at the gleaming jars. Estee Lauder immediately sized her up as she did any potential customer. The saleswoman standing next to Estee whispered, "Oh, don't waste your time, Mrs. Lauder. She's not going to buy anything. I know her type. I live around here." But Lauder approached the Mexican woman, whose face lit up. As was her way, Lauder went right to work, demonstrating her product on this lovely woman's face, finishing off the session with a touch of Duchess Crimson lipstick. She handed the woman a mirror. The woman looked positively radiant. She did not speak English, and Lauder could not speak Spanish, but still, at that moment, they had a bond. The woman reached into her modest black purse, which was literally overflowing with dollars, and bought 2 of everything that Lauder had used on her face. Lauder goes on to write in her book, "I will never forget her. She symbolized so much for me. Never be patronizing. Never underestimate a woman's desire for beauty. That proud woman embodies my whole philosophy. I would be on the road for the rest of my life, and in a way, always touching faces, always making the sale that others said was not possible." Something I'm really proud about in my career is the amount of first-time art buyers I have. You just seriously never know who you're going to touch with your art. And often those things come from a common interest. So if you paint, let's say, portraits of children in Africa, and perhaps there's a missionary who supports children in Africa and is highly interested in that, well, you have an automatic connection. Our older collectors are dying, and it's up to us artists to create new collectors and educate the public about what we do and why we do it and how it can be accessible to everybody. Which brings me to my next B, be social. I know a lot of you think social media is a pain, and it is. It has its negative aspects, but it's also another way for you to connect with potential buyers and collectors. The truth is, today, everyone speaks a different language, and I'm not talking about Spanish and Chinese and Russian. I'm talking about an email. I'm talking about a text. I'm talking about a Facebook message or a Twitter or what have you. And if you don't speak one of those languages, you're going to miss out on connecting with your potential collector. Some people love to walk into a gallery. Some people love to get a paper invitation in the mail. You have to meet all those needs. You have to commute all those ways. And by doing that, you never know what kind of opportunity will be around the corner. So for example, Instagram has afforded me tremendous opportunities. One of those opportunities came a couple of years ago when I noticed that Arizona Highways magazine began following me and commenting on my photographs. It turns out the editor-in-chief thought my work was the cat's meow. Well, later I was at a social event for a local museum and ran into him. He was the keynote speaker that night, and he said, "Hey, do you have sometime for some coffee?" Well, yes, I do. And so he had an idea to create a spread for the 2020 March issue of Arizona Highways that would feature my paintings. Now, at first when he talked to me about that, I thought he just meant one painting, but he actually meant a whole spread of paintings, which turned out to be 10 or so paintings. So that was an opportunity that came about because of a connection that I followed through on Instagram. And truly, that connection and that opportunity changed the trajectory of my career for the following years. My gallery and I partnered with that work and created a beautiful exhibit in Scottsdale in March of 2020. Well, you know what happened in March of 2020. We were shut down, and there was actually no show to speak of. However, because of the publication and because of my hard work in connecting with my collectors via social media and emails and texts and invitations, we had a sellout show during a pandemic. So be social. And our next very, very important B is always be ready. Julie Andrews once said, "Sometimes opportunities float right by your nose. Work hard, apply yourself, and be ready. When opportunity comes, you can grab it." Well, time management is a struggle for artists. We have a lot of things on our plate, but by writing down your goals and dreaming and reviewing your goals, you'll be surprised how many things come to fruition. And also, if you assume those things are going to come to fruition, you should be prepared for them. Have a good headshot, have your resume in order, have your accomplishments listed. So when an opportunity comes, you'll be ready to send those things off and grab that opportunity. An example for me was several years ago in 2017, I received a phone call from the editor of Phoenix Home and Garden telling me that I had been awarded the Master of the Southwest Award. So along with being super excited, my mind started going to all the ways that I needed to prepare for the interview, for the photo shoot, for the award ceremony, for the press coverage. And for the most part, I was ready. My website was nice and tidy. I had some nice professional headshots. My resume was in order. My artist statement was in order. When the interviewer came to my home, lovely Judy Harper, I had a gift for her. And when I prepared my speech for the audience that night, I made sure to direct it towards people in publishing so that it was relevant to them. So all those things came together to make an extraordinarily exceptional year that has served my career well, and I continue to be very thankful for that opportunity. So always be ready. And our next B, be brave. So you remember a few points ago, we talked about being generous. Well, being generous leads to opportunities as well. So a couple years ago, after donating to the Phoenix Zoo for several years, I was invited to a behind-the-scenes tour of the grounds and the animals with one of their board members, Jean, who is a remarkable woman in her own right. Anyway, I invited my friend April, also an artist, to go along with me. In fact, the tour was full of artists. And we rode around in a golf cart that day. And towards the end of the day, the president of the zoo, Bert Castro, stopped by the Savannah Grill, which had recently been built and refurbished, and it was lovely, except for the walls were empty. I looked at my friend April and I said, boy, this looks like an opportunity right here. What an amazing thing this would be to have an exhibit space for the zoo, to make another reason for people to visit the zoo, to engage the zoo's membership and visitors. So that night I couldn't sleep, and I got up early in the morning and I wrote out a proposal for the zoo, a proposal for an exhibit program. And that's the beautiful thing about being at this stage in my career, is giving back and giving opportunities to other artists. That just delights me. And since then, we've been exhibiting wonderful local conservation-themed artists ever since, giving them an opportunity to show their work and the zoo an opportunity to share their mission, and everybody wins. So always be brave. If you have a good idea, don't be afraid to share it. Don't be afraid to put it in action. What's the worst that can happen? Someone says no, and then you move on to the next great idea. So be brave.
Cowabunga, dude. Cowabunga.
Classic.
So you've been patient, and I promised you at the beginning of this talk that today you get a gift with purchase. And now you know who started a gift with purchase. That would be Miss Estee Lauder, the amazing Estee Lauder. So the gift with purchase you get today is the B number 9, which is be responsive. be responsive. So during the pandemic, I don't know how many times I went onto a website for a small business whose services I was hoping to get and filled out their contact form and sent the email off. And I would say 9 times out of 10, no one ever contacted me. People, if you have a website up with a contact page or an email or a phone number, you need to check those emails and reply, because if you don't, you're missing out. Sometimes I get benign emails that just say, "Hi, I love your work. Is this available in a print?" Now, of course, that information is on my website and I could just ignore it and hope that they figure it out. But by replying to every single email, just a short, sweet, kind reply, I have had wonderful engagements with people that I wouldn't normally have engagements with. And the thing is, during the pandemic, everyone was sitting at home starving for connections. So I actually made some great pen pals during the pandemic with people all over the country who just connected with me because of my work. Maybe they saw it in the magazine, maybe they saw it on Instagram or whatever. And so I know that's a lot of work, but you must be responsive. If someone asks you a question or wants to know if you do commissions, or if an artist contacts you and says, "Hey, what brand of oil paint do you use?" That falls under the be generous part and be encouraging part. You need to share what you know and what you've learned, and it will never serve you badly. You will always benefit from feeding and nurturing those connections with people. Those people are maybe your collectors, they could be your friends, and most certainly they deserve a good response. Well, you've been great students today. I hope you learned something. I hope you were inspired. And we are ready to talk about the very last and most important B. Always be thankful. People, creatives, we have a very unique and special lifestyle. In a way, the world revolves around creativity. Original thought and ideas, now more than ever, are so important. Out-of-the-box thinking, creating things that give you an opportunity to connect with other people. These are responsibilities that we have, and they're powerful. And if used for good, not evil, I kind of would like to say that we could change the world. So be mindful of how you work, how you communicate with others in the art world, how you connect with people. Be compelling, be all the B's that we talked about today, but most of all, lovely creatives, be you. You're beautiful, you're talented, and you've got a lot to say. And I'll be here listening and waiting. Are you still there? Well, if you love Marvel movies, you know you don't leave once the credits roll. You got to stick around because there's bonus material. So the bonus material I wanted to share with you today was just a little bit about my piece called For Generations to Come. As you know, American Women Artists just announced the exhibitors for this year's show, Lifting the Sky. And I was proud to learn that I had a piece that was chosen. That's always humbling. And to be a part of this organization and a part of this fellowship of extraordinarily talented women is one of the most gratifying things of my career. So I wanted to share with you about the piece. I painted this piece as part of a collection of White Mountain wildflowers. And I was there this summer during the pandemic. I stayed in a cabin. And my husband and I did some extensive exploring of the area. It is one of my favorite parts of Arizona. When I got back, I was so enthusiastic about what I saw. I wrote to my friend now, Robert Steve at Arizona Highways, and shared with him that I really wanted to create a collection of wildflowers from that region, and would he consider them for the magazine. And I guess my enthusiasm showed because he said yes, and not only did he say yes, but it fit their June issue, 2021 June issue perfectly, because They are reporting on and sharing about the aftermath of the wildfire that was about 10 years ago in the White Mountains. So the idea of new birth and new plants growing after that really fit in with their theme. So the piece you're looking at here, and the other pieces I'm going to show you here in this bonus feature, are pieces that I created for that series of work. So I'd like to share with you the thesis that I wrote for this work. The collection is called The Colors of White. While much of the Grand Canyon State is hot and void of botanical color in the summer, the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest in northeastern Arizona is alive with color. And I'm not talking about fall color. Amber and crimson will have their day, and the photographers will rush to those special places in Arizona to capture the autumnal light soon enough, so just hang on. But now it's summer in the White Mountains, and while white is a great description for this region in the winter, in August, this artist thinks green would be more accurate. The warm greens of the treeless velvet valleys collide with the cool greens of the thick pine-scented forests from 3,500 to 11,500 feet in elevation. And while green is the main character dominating the horizon in the romance of the White Mountains, blue cannot be ignored. It rushes downward to meet the land in an ombre of ultramarine to cerulean blue. Truth be told, this region has been home to colorful landscapes and characters for years. Coronado came looking for gold. John Wayne came to ranch cattle. And author Zane Grey came to paint word pictures. His character, Milt Dale, knew this area well. Is it any wonder why Grey loved Arizona's wild places? But back to color, because in the White Mountains, an artist at heart can see more than just white, green, blue, in the woods and the Senecas and the sky. There are other players like pink and yellow and red and purple, and you can see them perform their parts too, if you know where to look.